A woman shot and killed in an East End neighborhood. Her partner under arrest for murder.
A man also found dead outside a North York home. Two separate fatal shootings in our city, two victims of gun violence. Good evening. It's been a deadly 24 hours in Toronto with two fatal shootings in opposite ends of the city.
The first incident unfolding last night in Riverdale, claiming the life of a mother. CTV's Beth McDonnell joins us live from Jones, south of Danforth, with the latest. Beth.
I connected with Alisha Brooks' mother today. She is still very much processing this tragedy and was not able to speak on camera. A Toronto police officer enters a community residential facility for offenders, also known as a halfway house, one day after a shooting claimed the life of Alisha Brooks, a 34-year-old mother.
We thought it was a tire pop.
The gun violence took place around 7 Sunday night in the East End on Jones Avenue near Hunter Street, a few blocks south of Danforth Avenue.
We looked outside and we saw someone lying on the ground with somebody else sort of running around yelling. And so we called 911, and then we saw the cop cars get here and the ambulance.
In a statement, Brooks' mother, Veronica, tells CTV News Alisha was vibrant, full of energy, and truly lit up a room with her presence. Her laugh was contagious. A loving mother, daughter, cousin, and niece who was very passionate about her work with the youth and refugees. Alisha's mother also says her daughter was visiting the accused at the facility when she was shot and killed. Police say the shooting took place inside and Brooks was found outside along with 33-year-old Aaron Shea. Shea has been charged with first-degree murder and was in a relationship with Brooks.
It's a surprise to have it happen in this neighborhood. We're a really close-knit community, so for something like this to happen is scary and sad.
Two sources say Shea lived in the facility. A spokesperson with the Correctional Service of Canada says Shea is under their jurisdiction. They say the building is a place offenders go after they've completed 2/3 of a federal sentence. It's legislated these offenders spend the final third in the community. Meanwhile, Brooks' family and community are grappling with her loss. Although she left a year ago, Brooks was an outreach worker for 2 years at the Parkdale Queen West Community Health Center. The executive director says staff and clients she supported are in shock and still processing this horrific event. The Correctional Service of Canada says that last period in the community is spent under supervision. Tonight it says it has launched an investigation and won't hesitate to take any measures to enhance public safety, but it can't confirm if Shea lived in the facility, it says, due to privacy. Reporting live on Jones Avenue, I'm Beth McDonnell. Michelle and Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. And just hours later, another deadly shooting. A man found dead in the driveway of a North York home. Tonight, we're learning about the victim as police continue to hunt for his killer. CTV Sean Leathong joins us live from Fairholme Avenue near Allen Road and Lawrence. Sean.
Well, Nathan, you can see the house behind me and you can see the front door. It's just at the bottom of the steps by the front door that a tenant inside the house says he saw the owner laying early this morning. Now, it's unclear when the shooting actually happened, but the man was discovered around 4 a.m.
A man found lying on the driveway of his home with no vital signs after being shot.
I believe that this shooting was targeted. The reason for that, I can't elaborate on at this point.
According to police, around 4 o'clock this morning, 69-year-old Mariano DeMarco was found by a parking enforcement officer near the home on Fairholme Avenue near Allen and Lawrence. Paramedics were called, and DeMarco was pronounced dead at the scene.
Around 10:30, I heard a big bang, so I immediately came to the door, because I wasn't sure what it was. And then I heard a car speeding away.
Rachel Wagshaw lives across the street and did not know DeMarco. She says beyond DeMarco, she thinks the house is rented per room.
So it's like people just going in and out. I think they go to work, they come home. There's no families, there's no kids.
This man, who would not talk on camera, told CP24 that he's a tenant and saw the victim lying in the driveway. But he says the gunshot happened around 2 a.m.
Yeah, well, I don't know what happened. I'm surprised.
Jim Constain lives 2 doors down and says he's known DeMarco for years but has no idea why this happened.
I'm worried. I'm scared.
Police closed off much of Fairholme for the investigation this morning, with the officers canvassing the area and looking for video.
He's a father, a grandfather, an uncle, and there's a lot of people that are very upset by his death.
No suspect information has been released at this time.
Now, we said police have been canvassing the area trying to find any video. There was one home not far from here who did have video nearby. They said they didn't see the murder themselves, but they had a car parked out in front of their driveway for a considerable amount of time. They said the video showed some person getting out of the car and then the car driving away. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathong. Nathan Michelle, send it back to you.
Thank you, Sean. In Brampton, police have identified the victim in a double shooting Thursday. 2 men were shot at a home on Odeon Street in Concord Drive. One of the victims died from his injuries. He has now been identified as 26-year-old Pritpal Singh. The other man was taken to hospital. His injuries aren't life-threatening. Police are still investigating and no arrests have been made. They say this incident is connected with the shooting in Caledon a short time later.
Also tonight, the fall of the Assad regime. The brutal dictator flees to Russia as the rebels take the reins in Syria, forging a new reality and uncertain future for the Syrian people.
Many motorists in the GTA had to break out their ice scrapers today. The region was hit with some slippery conditions. A freezing rain warning was issued with concerns of ice buildup on sidewalks and roads. That advisory in Toronto ended early this afternoon.
And as we take a live look outside this hour, soggy conditions. We're in for an unsettled evening, bringing the potential for fog patches, but you're always going to find someone at Nathan Phillips Square this time of year. It is just gorgeous. Jessica Smith, what are they experiencing out there?
Mostly just cloud cover, a little light drizzle, even a fine mist. It really comes down to the actual size of the actual droplets themselves at this point. But for the most part, the heavier showers are gone. So if you are going to go out skating, it might be a little soggy out there, but overall, it's not too bad of a night. The bulk of that active weather has pushed its way further east. The winds have died down a little, so it's actually not the worst to be outside. We're sitting a little warmer into that southwestern corner. Winds are still sitting at 9, significantly cooler the further east you go. Now, temperature-wise, we are holding on to a little warmth as we head through the rest of our evening, but that fog is going to make its way in, so it might be a little bit challenging to see if you're driving a little bit later in the evening. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast. Right now, it's back over to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Jess. We turn to the ongoing concerns over a lack of access to family physicians in Ontario.
A Toronto clinic sounding the alarm, calling on Queen's Park to address what they say is a shortage of doctors plaguing the province. CTV's Mike Walker has the details.
Amid Ontario's doctor shortage, physicians at one downtown clinic say they are overwhelmed. They blame a lack of funding.
Newly trained doctors are intentionally choosing not to enter family medicine. At the same time, existing family doctors are leaving. We are facing increases in administrative burden, complexity of care, and costs required to run our practices.
The Tattle Creek Family Health Team has been without 2 family doctors since July 2023. Vacancies the executive director says can't be filled.
Given the current shortage of family doctors in Ontario, there is often little I can do to help.
Leaving more than 2,000 of its patients in limbo, like William Ulrich, who has an autoimmune disorder.
If a suitable replacement isn't found, we too will have to use walk-in clinics and see doctors who are unfamiliar with our history.
They came to Queen's Park calling on the province to take urgent action to address the primary care staffing shortage and increase funding for clinics.
Our staff have seen no increases in their salary for 5 years now, while costs of living have gone up year after year. Over a third of our community health staff have left in the past year, with the highest turnover in social work and administration.
Critics say the scenario at Tattle Creek is playing out across the province. According to the Ontario Medical Association, more than 2.5 million Ontarians are without a family doctor.
What we're worried about is that the Conservatives are starving public health care on the one hand and expanding access to for-profit care on the other.
The NDP is calling on the government to provide more funding for clinics, better compensation for health care workers, and speed up assessments and approvals for internationally trained family doctors and nurses.
There are solutions that are on the table, have been on the table for a long time.
Speaking in Thunder Bay today.
This year, we had the largest expansion of primary care practitioners in decades.
It's actions the health minister says the government is already taking.
Whether it is with the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario to quickly assess, review, and license when appropriate internationally educated physicians, but also expanding the opportunities for young people who want to train.
Jones adds the government is working with former federal health minister Jane Philpott to oversee plans to connect every Ontarian to primary care within 5 years. Mike Walker, CTV News.
The union representing 33 workers at a downtown supervised consumption site that is set to close says the city's planning to cut the jobs despite a directive from the Board of Health. The Works is one of 10 supervised consumption sites the Ford government has ordered to close by the end of March. It's the result of new legislation aimed at closing sites the government says are too close to schools or daycares. The union says eliminating the positions goes against a directive from the Toronto Board of Health, which instructed the city to include funding for the positions in its 2025 budget.
We're calling on the city to immediately rescind these layoffs and honor the Board of Health directive to maintain funding for these positions and allow them to perform duties within what is allowed under provincial law. To the city, we say, show the leadership that Toronto residents expect and deserve. Advocate for harm reduction services. Advocate for the workers who make these services possible. Recognize the service these workers have performed and let them keep their jobs.
The union says the 33 impacted workers include 4 permanent community health officers, along with 29 temporary harm reduction counselors.
Still ahead, too much to bear. A new report highlights the financial toll placed on patients and families for cancer treatment.
The Premier would not provide a definitive answer today when asked about whether we'd be sending Ontarians to the polls early.
You ever worried about an election for 2025 then for the spring?
I'm going to focus on the economy here and get more jobs going.
There has been speculation the PC government is planning to call an early election. Experts have pointed to the fast tracking of several bills, as well as the year-end deadline Ford has given to its caucus members to decide if they'll run for re-election. The PC government has spent more than $103 million on ads in the last fiscal year. That's more than 3 times the year before.
Ford has said addressing congestion concerns is a major priority, and now a report indicates the problem is costing the GTA nearly $45 billion a year in lost productivity. The study was commissioned by the Residential and Civil Construction Alliance of Ontario, along with the Ontario Road Builders Association. It found gridlock is costing the GTA's economy 88,000 jobs a year. It also diminishes quality of life as a result of time lost, stress, and health issues.
Things do not improve. What does that mean for the future? And the numbers get even more staggering if we don't get a handle of congestion. We're looking at $145 billion impact from an economic and social perspective in Ontario by 2044 if we don't figure things out and if we don't really continue to invest in infrastructure in a sustainable and predictable way.
The report calls for increased investment in infrastructure like roads, bridges, and public transit. There's also a call to find ways to speed up construction on major projects that are already underway, such as the Ontario line.
There's some changes to subway service this week. Beginning tonight, subway service on Line 1 will end at 11 p.m. through to Friday between St. Clair and Shepherd Yonge stations. The disruption will allow for track work to be completed. Shuttle buses will be running, stopping at all stations along the route.
In Syria, there is hope for a more peaceful future following the ouster of the al-Assad regime.
Much of the country has come to a standstill, but the Prime Minister has agreed to hand power to a rebel-led government. CTV's Genevieve Beauchemin reports.
Rebels proclaimed a new dawn for Syria and began the work of trying to govern the capital, Damascus. Leader Ahmad al-Shara met with Syrian Prime Minister Mohammad Jalali. He called on public sector employees, including health workers, to return to their posts. Most shops were closed and long lineups formed outside those that remained open, like bakeries. Uncertainty looms after the fall of the Assad family reign that lasted more than half a century. Some analysts say the transition seems to be happening peacefully.
Despite all the challenges and the different sort of divisions within Syria, whether that's politically or even militarily, things are moving in the right direction.
Russia confirmed ousted Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and his family were granted refuge by Vladimir Putin himself. His ouster has given some hope for a more peaceful future after 13 years of civil war. Exiled Syrians from neighboring countries rushed to border crossings, anxious to return home. Thank God the war is over, that Assad is over, says this man who fled to Turkey in 2015. My older brother was imprisoned and I haven't seen him for 13 years. Crowds are searching prisons, including one outside Damascus, notorious for torture, executions. They're anxious to find loved ones imprisoned by the regime. Workers are drilling holes in the prison floor looking for underground hidden cells. The post-Assad world may shift power dynamics in the Middle East. Israel says it took up positions in a buffer zone and struck Syrian chemical weapons and missile sites. And inside the country, Syrians await word of exactly who will lead and what rules they will live by. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News.
There's a sense of uncertainty being felt by Syrian Canadians, many feeling cautiously optimistic after the fall of the Assad regime. CTV's Rahim Ladani has the story.
I have a baby who's 10 months old, and I never expected that one day I'm going to be able to take him with me and show him my hometown.
Like many Syrian Canadians, Marwa Kobi is feeling hopeful as she watches the end of a dictatorship which brutally ruled her homeland for more than 50 years.
This moment is historic and it gives us hope that finally justice is here and we're able to hope for a better future for Syria.
This optimistic outlook comes after a civil war which dates back to 2011, during which tens of thousands of Syrians fled to Canada. Amir Fatal is among them. He left Syria 12 years ago. Since then, his children have been raised in Canada. He studied at the University of Toronto and runs a catering business in the GTA. Fatal is not ready to move back to Syria, but he does plan to help his country rebuild.
I'm so ready to go back and join the international organizations or the local organizations as I study international development specialist to get involved with rebuilding the country again.
While Fatal is focused on the future, he does still want Bashar al-Assad and his family to be held accountable for their actions during their rule.
I'm so angry about that. Personally, I hope that Bashar al-Assad faced his justice in Syria. He killed a lot of people, he and his family.
Justice, he hopes, will mark an end to that chapter and the beginning of a brighter future. Rahim Ladani, CTV News.
In the U.S., after a 6-day manhunt, a significant development in the hunt for the killer of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Police in Pennsylvania have arrested a 26-year-old they're calling a strong person of interest. CTV's Joy Malbin reports.
It was those photos, that unmasked moment seen everywhere, that police say was key to the suspect's capture. A McDonald's employee spotted the suspect eating at an Altoona, Pennsylvania restaurant and called police.
Members of the Altoona Police Department arrested Luigi Mangione, a 26-year-old male, on firearms charges. At this time, he is believed to be our person of interest in the brazen targeted murder of Brian Thompson.
Police say he has no criminal record but had with him a gun resembling the murder weapon used to kill Brian Thompson, the healthcare executive in New York last week. They found a silencer, masks, and multiple fake IDs, including one used by the killer to check into a New York hostel before the murder.
The gun appears to be a ghost gun, may have been made on a 3D printer, the capability of firing a 9mm round. And at some point, we'll work out through extradition to bring him back to New York to face charges here.
Police also found a 3-page handwritten manifesto that could speak to the suspect's motivation, criticizing the healthcare industry for putting profits over care. Shell casings at the crime scene had the words "deny, defend, and depose" scrawled on the bullets, similar to a phrase used by insurers to avoid paying healthcare claims.
We don't think that there's any specific threats to other people mentioned in that document, but it does seem that he has some ill will toward corporate America.
Police believe the suspect was acting alone. He's being held on gun charges in Pennsylvania. New York investigators are on their way to interview him and expect that they will lay charges soon. Joy Malbin, CTV News, Washington.
In Ottawa, the federal government will deliver its fall economic statement next Monday. Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland says she looks forward to presenting the next steps in providing what she calls a good middle-class life for everyone. The annual fiscal update will include the size of the deficit. The parliamentary budget officer says the Liberals likely broke their promise to keep it capped at $40 billion, and the PBO is projecting a deficit of $46.8 billion for the last fiscal year. Freeland has not said whether she will meet her own pledge on the deficit.
Meanwhile, a third non-confidence vote against the Trudeau government failed today. The Conservatives' motion quoted NDP leader Jagmeet Singh's criticism of the Liberals.
He has pointed out that this Prime Minister has violated the rights of workers. So we took the NDP leader's words, we put it in a motion that includes non-confidence. Will the Speaker, will the Prime Minister allow this NDP leader a free vote so that he can vote non-confidence?
One thing we know, Mr. Speaker, is that the leader of the opposition certainly doesn't allow any free votes for his members of Parliament. And what we also know is that he doesn't allow them to speak for themselves.
Singh said last week his party would not vote in favor of the motion, insisting the Tories are playing games.
Coming up, scoring big smiles off the ice, the Toronto Sceptres pay a special visit to a kids' rehab hospital. We catch up with the team and their growing fan base.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, taxi scams are on the rise in Toronto and criminals are targeting Good Samaritans. One woman was just scammed out of $14,000. All of that story, that's just ahead.
And we've begun a short above seasonal trend as we begin the work and school week, with temperatures sitting well above where they should be for the highs and the lows. But there is a cool down coming. I'll have your full forecast in a moment, and stay with us. We have another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
Toronto police have issued a warning due to a rise in taxi scams. More than 800 of them have been reported so far this year.
Losses have risen to more than $1.6 million. Part of the scam is criminals targeting Good Samaritan. So here's Pat Foran in Consumer Alert. Pat.
Nathan and Michelle, a woman says she was approached in a parking lot by someone needing help to pay for a taxi ride. In the end, her card was switched and her bank account was drained of $14,000.
And then I was loading all the groceries that I shop.
Maria Padagdag of Woodbridge says it was in August when someone came up to her in a parking lot asking for a favor.
And this lady came from behind my car and she said, "Can you help me pay my taxi?"
This scam involves two scammers. One finds a Good Samaritan and says that they've taken a taxi ride, but the driver won't accept cash. Could they pay with their debit card in exchange for cash? But once the Good Samaritan hands over the card, the driver copies the PIN, switches the card, and goes on a spending spree.
And then the lady gave me the $10 in exchange of the $9.75, right? And I went off.
Maria says 4 days later, she got a call from her bank saying her account had been overdrawn. She was scammed out of $14,000.
I was just trying to help her because I thought she needs help.
They're trying to switch your card, so they're giving you a duplicate or one that looks similar to yours and keeping yours. So now they've got your card and they've got your PIN number.
Toronto police get complaints about taxi scams every day. There's been an increase in fraud since criminals are able to buy generic taxi signs off websites like Amazon.
If it's a taxi sign on the top of the roof that has, a charging cable that comes in and snakes through the window and plugs into their cigarette lighter, that I can guarantee you 100% of the time will be a fake taxi.
Police say beware of any cab that doesn't accept cash or have a meter, and never hand over your debit card. Maria's been waiting for almost 4 months to get her case resolved. She's with the Bank of Montreal. After we contacted the bank, a spokesperson said, "We immediately reviewed this matter after our customer was in contact with us. The case has now been resolved as part of our regular process." Maria has now been given a full refund of $14,000.
Thank you, CTV. Thank you, Mr. Pat Foran. For me, it's magic. Thank you so much.
And always be careful. If someone asks you to pay a taxi ride for them, please say fake taxis. Also wait outside sporting events, bars, and movie theaters, hoping to catch people off guard. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
You know, the scraper needs to be in your car this time of year. I noticed some people didn't have it.
Was it last week? I went digging for it, and it was like, oh, do I have to use it? Yeah, I had the scraper, and you know, it's unsettled, right?
Yeah.
You've got some days where it's warm but wet, and then there's flurries, and we have to pay attention to weather.
You do, so just watch every single night at 6 o'clock. It's one of those times of year where you have to have everything in your trunk. You have to have the rain boots, the winter coat, the extra gloves, the extra windshield wiper fluid, because we are in such a transitional period. And it remains unsettled throughout the week. We go from being well above seasonal to it being really, really cold, and then the chance of snow before it is all said and done. But right now, it's not too bad. Winds are a little lighter out there, and we've seen most of the heavier showers make their way out as we step into this early part of our evening. So if you wanted to get out for a walk or maybe go skating, it's not so bad. Temperature-wise, though, it does get a little warmer into the day tomorrow before things transition as we head in towards our Thursday and Friday. But we'll take a look at our temperature map and first we'll go downtown Nathan Phillips Square. Listen, you can enjoy the treat tonight because the rain's not too bad. It's not too cold out there. And if you want to go skating, you don't need too many of those extra layers. But that does change as we head in towards the end of the week. Right now, sitting at 2 here in the city and across a good portion of the GTA, and it's a little bit warmer into that southwestern corner. So for our friends down towards, say, Windsor, they're still sitting at 8 degrees. Significantly different story areas north of Sudbury. Now, as we head into our evening, we really don't change much temperature-wise. We should be at -5. We'll sit at about 4 degrees as we head through the overnight, and almost everybody above seasonal. Still pretty cool through Bancroft, but they should be at -10, and they're sitting at -3. So it's a little bit of a trade-off, right? As we head into the day tomorrow, 7 degrees for the high. We should be at 2. We have a fairly moderate southwesterly wind, so it's actually not a terrible day. Quite messy, though. We had all that snow from the weekend, and a lot of it melted over the weekend, at least on Sunday with all the rain, so it's pretty mucky out there. But we are holding on to at least a relatively dry, albeit overcast day tomorrow. The active weather we're still seeing, still prompting some winter weather travel advisories just north of us and in areas out towards Waterloo Region through Owen Sound, Barrie, and then anywhere east as you approach Ottawa. So just keep that in mind and travel carefully. As we head through the rest of our evening, there's not much in the way of any extreme active weather. The next round likely to come in as we end the day tomorrow. So we get through the bulk of our Tuesday relatively dry. Tonight, it's just a lot of cloud cover, but a very mild evening ahead of us. So again, if you wanted to get out and go skating, it's not too bad. You don't need all those extra layers. Into the day tomorrow, a southerly wind for the most part, so it's really kind of quite nice. We head into the kind of midpoint of our afternoon. We start to see another round of showers push their way up from south of the border. The bulk of this rain is going to be along that kind of northeastern shore of Lake Ontario, and then it pushes its way further east. We are watching for a few light showers to start the day Wednesday. Then temperatures start to take a dive. And as they do, that rain transitions over to snow. So we're holding off for the most part in the GTA, but something to keep note. I know it's a busy time of year and a lot of folks are traveling. Warm, but a little unsettled as we head through Tuesday and Wednesday. By Thursday, the cloud cover lifts, but so does any of that warmth. Then we dip a little below seasonal. That's right through to the end of the work and school week. It warms up a little into your Saturday and Sunday, but with that comes some unsettled weather. So it's a bit of a trade-off. Just prepare for everything. Let's switch gears. And as we continue to build a toy mountain, it's now time to check in with our Andrea Case, who's visiting schools every Monday of our campaign.
Where are they? Hey, there they are. Come on, let's go already. I think this is the week I get to drive. Hello, Darcy. Hello, Aaron. Get over there, Darcy. I'm well. Okay, week 3.
Week 3.
Where do we go?
Going to Bakersfield Public School and Crestwood School. We're so excited. The schools so far have been so enthusiastic about this campaign and the school toy drive program presented by Toronto Area Ford Dealers.
Speaking of Toronto Area Ford Dealers, Darcy, here we are at one of the Toronto Area Ford Dealers. Once again, for those that don't know, tell us about this beautiful pickup truck that they can win this year.
This year, Andrea, we're giving away a 2024 Maverick pickup truck. It's a brand new, it's the smallest truck that we have in the lineup, and very compact, very comfortable to drive. But anybody who donates a toy at one of our dealerships by December 13th can enter a ballot for a chance to win this vehicle.
Come on, is this the week I get to drive?
All right, you can drive.
Woo! Get in, everybody, and buckle up. He didn't even ask if I have a license. Seatbelts. Oh my goodness, we're here.
Welcome to Bakersfield, creating memories one gift at a time.
Now that's what I call a welcome. Hi, everybody. Hi. Here we are with Principal Gold. Your kids look fantastic. They all look so happy. And you, sir, are a superhero. Tell us about the kids at Bakersfield.
Kids at Bakersfield are awesome. They are difference makers and change makers and have been working so hard to create memory-making experiences for those in need. They have been promoting the Toy Mountain campaign every day for the past couple of weeks and promoting the donations from families in the most awesome way. We've been doing it for about 4 or 5 years now, and every year the mountain gets bigger and bigger. These kids are amazing.
Okay, and we have one of your teachers here. Come on in. And your name is?
My name is Mrs. Sharma, and I teach this wonderful grade 5-6 classroom.
Okay, and so the kids are donating toys, and they're getting all excited. How does that make a difference in your class, do you think?
I think they made them shine. Their kindness actually shined throughout this whole process. They're wonderful little kids with big, big hearts. They understood the assignment right from the get-go. This is for kids who need us.
Okay, well, we're going to talk to Darcy and Aaron in just a moment, but hey, kids, how about you show us where all the toys are? Let's go!
And if you want to donate to Toy Mountain, drop off a new unwrapped toy at participating malls, one of the 23 Toronto area Ford dealers, or visit toymountain.ca and click Toronto to find a drop-off location near you. Also, this is a real easy way to donate. Text toys to 30333 to automatically donate $25.
It's the end of an era. Taylor Swift wrapped up her record-smashing concert tour in Vancouver last night. The epic, emotional final farewell coming up. Few things are more frightening than getting a cancer diagnosis. Most of us would assume provincial Medicare would cover the costs.
But a new report reveals the average patient still pays hidden expenses, some $33,000 in out-of-pocket cancer-related costs in their lifetime. CTV's Alisha Brooks has the details.
A scary diagnosis on several fronts, and when you factor in the additional costs, the stress can seem never-ending. Even harder if you're a newcomer to Canada trying to navigate the healthcare system for the first time. That's what Harjeet Kaur had to do, living in Canada just 1 year before she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
I was in Edmonton, so I had to move to Calgary for my stem cell transplant, and we had to pay rent in Edmonton and in Calgary. Also, there were medications which costed around $2,000 each.
A new report from the Canadian Cancer Society estimates the average patient will face nearly $33,000 in out-of-pocket cancer-related costs in their lifetime. Chemotherapy and radiation are covered, but some prescriptions and take-home drugs aren't, and patients still shoulder travel costs and lost income during treatment and recovery. About 20% of Canada's total cancer costs are the patient's responsibility, roughly $7.5 billion this year alone, and expected to rise to $8.8 billion over the next decade.
In some cases, this can result in foregoing your cancer treatment or aspects of your cancer treatment, of delaying aspects of your cancer treatment, all because of the financial burden associated with this.
For patients like Harjeet Kaur, whose insurance covered the majority of costs, well, she counts herself lucky. Advocates say national drug coverage for take-home cancer medications and caregiver tax credits could help bring some of those costs down. Alisha Brooks, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Canadians struggling with obesity are more than twice as likely to develop heart disease. As our health reporter Pauline Chan tells us, that's why the recent approval of the drug Wegovy is being praised by many heart specialists.
51-year-old Ritu Sharda is a film producer, a mother, and a heart disease patient. She was diagnosed 2 years ago after the stress of a business breakup resulted in weight gain.
My heart would race, palpitations, and I would eat absent-mindedly, sometimes eat, sometimes not eat.
Her doctor told her plaque buildups in her arterial extremities could result in a clump breaking loose and lodging in her heart.
You feel numbness in your extremities, and you constantly you are under anxiety.
When we talk about heart attack risk, we usually talk about risk factors, and these risk factors are well known by most of your viewers, and that are, smoking and diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, things like that, family history.
But Dr. Subodh Verma says we don't often discuss the role of obesity or overweight.
And we know that weight can lead to an increased risk of heart attacks.
That's why he applauds the recent approval of Wegovy, a semaglutide that's the same as Ozempic, just in a different dosage. Wegovy is the first treatment approved by Health Canada to support both chronic weight management and reduce the risk of myocardial infarction or heart attacks. Dr. Verma has some concerns about inappropriate candidates seeking the popular weight loss drug.
There is a sort of a cosmetic and a glamour factor around this, right? And again, as heart surgeons, we are using this medication for heart protection.
Still, he says for the right patients like Sharda, it will be extremely significant.
There are ways of reducing weight, but not all ways of reducing weight lead to a reduction in heart disease risk. It's a transformative moment for us as cardiovascular specialists. It is something formidable for patients.
And he says there are other similar drugs with even stronger effects down the road. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
The nominees for the 82nd Golden Globe Awards have been announced. Emilia Perez leads the pack with 10 nominations, including for Best Comedy or Musical and Best Original Score. The film tells the story of a Mexican drug lord who has gender-affirming surgery to live as a woman. Other top nominees include The Brutalist, Wicked, and Conclave. The winners will be announced January 5th. Pamela Anderson is among the Canadians nominated for a Golden Globe. She's up for Best Actress for her performance in The Last Showgirl. Other Canadian nominees include Gabriel LaBelle for his role in Saturday Night, Martin Short for Only Murders in the Building. Director Denis Villeneuve, Dune Part 2 is nominated for Best Drama.
Well, it's officially the end of an era.
I'm so excited. I just cried. To be a part of everyone who, for the very last time, is seeing this tour is huge.
Taylor Swift played the final show of her Eras tour to a sold-out crowd in Vancouver last night. The pop megastar began the tour in Arizona in March of 2023 and performed nearly 150 shows spanning dozens of countries. Swift played even later than usual last night, with her show finally ending near midnight, and those who weren't able to score tickets didn't let that stop them from enjoying her show. More than 1,000 people took in the atmosphere outside. Swift's 3 shows in Vancouver brought in tens of thousands of people and millions of dollars for the local economy. And there was also some star power at Swift's final show, including Michael Bublé, who posted this video of him dancing with his daughter. Also in the crowd, Parks and Rec star Aubrey Plaza and Jenna Fisher from The Office.
After the break, chipping in off the ice, the Toronto Sceptres score an assist with young patients at Holland Bloorview Hospital. The surprise visit and the celly coming up.
It's a surprise to have it happen in this neighborhood. We're a really close-knit community, so for something like this to happen is scary and sad.
Updating our top stories, a woman was fatally shot in East End, Toronto last night. It happened as she was visiting a man now charged in the crime at a community residential facility for offenders.
No, I don't know what happened. It was a surprise.
A man did not survive after being shot near Allen Road in Lawrence. Police canvassed the area today looking for video. Now, there's been no arrests, and investigators have not released any suspect information. Police say there are a lot of people concerned and upset by the death of the man.
We are facing increases in administrative burden, complexity of care, and costs required to run our practices.
And a downtown Toronto clinic wants urgent action from Queen's Park to address the province's doctor shortage. The Tattle Creek Family Health team blames a lack of funding. The government says the largest expansion of primary care practitioners in decades occurred this year.
Remember to keep up to date day and night at ctvnewstoronto.ca and by downloading the CTV News app.
On the markets, the Canadian dollar traded at 70.56 cents U.S., down about 1/10 cent. Western Canadian Select Oil ending at $54.57 a barrel, down 70 cents. And the TSX Composite Index closing at 25,625.42, down just over 66 points.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
It's day 25 of the Canada Post strike, and it appears there's no end in sight. The union says it has lowered its wage demand to 19% over 4 years and scrapped its demand to merge urban and rural bargaining units. But in a statement, Canada Post said, quote, "It's extremely disappointed that the union's intent appears to be to widen the gap in negotiations rather than close it." Well, they're used to thrilling fans on the ice, but today the Toronto Sceptres scored big off the ice.
Members of the women's hockey team paid a special visit to surprise young patients at Holland Bloorview Hospital. Our Janice Golding was there.
The Toronto Sceptres scored some big points today with some very special children at Holland Bloorview Kids Rehab Hospital. This visit was the first ever the team has paid to a community organization since its inception. Members of the women's hockey team, including forward Jesse Comfer, goalie Carly C.J. Jackson, defender Renata Fast, and forward Blair Turnbull, played interactive hockey-themed games with a few of the patients and participated in some other fun activities with the children. They also did a meet and greet with a larger group of kids and staff and answered questions the kids had about their lives and careers.
It's a cooperative game that you have to kind of include everyone to be able to play in a fun way.
Orla was the one who was a patient, an inpatient here at Holland Bloorview, and her experience here affected all of us, including her twin Erin, so they are thrilled to be here with their absolute favorite team in the world, the Toronto Sceptres.
They get so much out of visits like this. Visits like this bring so much joy, happiness to our kids here. A lot of our kids are staying here over the holidays, so to be able to kick off the holidays with a team visit is so awesome.
I feel like this spot might not always be the happiest place for them to be, but I think when they get to interact with us, you can see how much joy and happiness it brings to them, and it feels the same for us. It's something that we don't do normally. So it's a special occasion for us to be here and to interact with the kids, and it really means a lot.
The Sceptres' next game will be in New York on December the 18th. Janice Golding, CTV News.
Meanwhile, the Raptors will be looking to avoid a third straight loss when they take on the New York Knicks tonight. The Raps are coming off a 125-118 loss to the Dallas Mavericks on Saturday. Tip-off for tonight's game against the Knicks is set for just after 7:30 p.m. at Scotiabank Arena. And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight. And a special shout out to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
We are into the final 2 weeks of our Toy Mountain finale.
Still lots of time to donate. Let's check in once more with CTV's Andrea Case, who caught up with some students at Bakersfield Public School where they're building their own mini toy mountain.
Wow, look at this mountain of toys. Well done, kids. I gotta thank you. Come on in, Darcy. Darcy's been holding the door. Okay, so we see this mountain of toys here. We've got a couple of people that want to speak. Why should everybody donate to Toy Mountain?
Everybody should donate to Toy Mountain because, like, if one person donates, then another person will donate. And, like, we could just keep on spreading that awareness and, like, we can just continue donating. And then we'll just have a big pile of toys that people that can't get toys will get. So.
Wonderful. And that's what you've got here, Cher.
Yep.
Wonderful.
All the toys.
Wonderful.
If we and other people are donating toys for kids whose family don't have a lot of money.
Some people could be homeless or going through hard times, and it's really sad to go through all those times. So everyone deserves toys and food. Some kids don't get an opportunity to get toys, and like we need to get more toys so we could
what other kids experience, like playing with toys.
Now, I've seen all the toys here that everybody's done such a great job with, but I've also seen some posters around the school. Can you tell me about those a little bit?
So from the beginning, we were basically like all given jobs to do. So we made some posters and we put it around the school so that everyone could bring toys from home or buy them, or like toys that are unopened, and they would just come bring them into the office to donate.
Well, that's very good. I congratulate all of you for such a great job.
Thank you for helping us fill the toy mountain.
Bakersfield Public School, we love you. That's so incredible. We really appreciate it. Weather-wise, you might not appreciate things as much. It's, you know, we're not, for those who like snow, it's really wet right now.
We had that dose of wintry weather, and everyone's like, yes, it is. It's winter. It's here. Just kidding. It melted all away. And we have some rain, so it will kind of wash a lot of it away. But we're obviously still into the winter season, and we had the meteorological start. The astronomical start is coming up in a couple of weeks, but we are going to see more wintry weather return as we head in towards kind of the end of the week, at least for us here in the GTA. Now, we saw that shower activity push its way further east, impacting areas in eastern Ontario and southern Quebec as we kind of get into the second half of our day. Right now, sitting at 2 degrees, so we're still on the mild side. We're at 8 through Windsor. Different story if you're heading further east out through Ottawa. They're at -8. Now, we stay above season. We get even warmer into the day on Tuesday. Wednesday, warmer still, but then we see that sharp drop as we head into Wednesday night.
Thank you, Jess. That's it for us, but you can join Heather Butts tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Natalie Johnson with your next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime online and at CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jess Smith and the whole team here, thanks for watching. Have a great night.